Well, we're here, man.
We are here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this extra special episode of the Cathode Ray podcast. I am here with my friend Steve Nutter for the first time live. Give me some of that. Up high, buddy. Hell yeah, dude. It is so lovely to be here with you.
Oh, man, I'm so happy you did that. I was going to ask you to do a classic throwback Cathode Ray podcast intro for us here. Yeah, man. I mean, here, cheers first off, right? Amazing
Cheers.
stuff to
Wanna
be
do
able to
that.
sit here in the bunker with my buddy.
Keep that mic nice and close.
Oh, yeah, my buddy Zez, and to be able to just do this has been really a great experience for me. I hope you've had a great time being here. And so I don't, I'm going to be sad when I have to drop you off tomorrow at the airport.
We got to do.
And so I don't know. I mean, maybe you can give a little perspective about things, how you've been doing.
I mean, the first thing is I want to say thank you to everyone who watches the podcast and watches my channel, watches Steve's channel, for being so supportive of this. Like, that you guys are interested in what we do, you're liking, you're subscribing, you're sharing, and that, thank you. I feel very fortunate that whatever it was a couple of years ago now, however long ago it was, I decided to reach out to this man and say, this fucking guy seems a bit, we need to have a chat. And that is how this friendship of ours bloomed. And I appreciate you guys are along that way. You're interested in this dumb things that we do. And I'm in it for you all enjoying it. So I can move on with the sappy stuff. So thank you very much. I'm in it because you enjoy it. And that's fun for me to know that y'all are into it as well. And Steve, I'm happy you're into it as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm into it. All right. That's, we had a good time. We had a good show there, live show. A lot of people did show up, and a lot of people, wanted to see us together, and we did have a good time. And so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, shoot, usually you can be a little bit, not you specifically, but
Here it goes.
Yeah, I meant like myself. You think about, wow, I don't know. I mean, 5 days with somebody almost. You're like, you could really, like, you better really like somebody.
Sure.
Right. So.
And in fairness to Steve, upon reflection, I didn't really ask. I just kind of said, I'm coming for these days. Sure, you'll be able to get me from the airport, right? I didn't sort of say, oh, how do I gave some sort of cursory, is that all right? Kind of, not really. So thank you for accepting me into your home. Steve, you have a lovely family. It's a testament to you and your values and how you brought them up. Really nice family. He has a family, and they're normal, and they're actually completely normal, and they're delightful and lovely. Wife, 2 children. It's been lovely to hang out with them, to see the life here. So
what about it? What's it been like? I mean, this isn't your first time to America, right? So you've been here before, but what has it been like now visiting? I don't know, when was how long has it been?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years before the pandemic.
Right. Okay.
So I, on this trip, I have visited 3 very different and very interesting sides of America. I started in Atlanta with my buddy Dieter. He's an Australian guy. I went to school with him, and he has moved to Atlanta, has a catering business, has done very well for himself, and I enjoy seeing him. He always shows me the finer part of life, and we drive. Yeah, we went to the Porsche driving school, for example. We go to some nice places, and I love to see that side, and of course, hang out with my friend. So that was great. And then after that, I went to Dallas. And that was kind of the reason for the trip. A lot of you will know that I'm a leadership consultant. I help companies, I help individuals with their leadership, help them work better as a team. And we were doing some training. The company that I work with, Combat Ready, we are now official partners with Echelon Front, Jocko Podcast. Maybe you've heard of that. Jocko Willink, that's his company. We're official partners. So we were doing 2 days of training in Dallas, Texas with them. That was amazing. We're up at 4:30 in the gym we did 1 day in the classroom, 1 day in the field, doing laser tag, doing them to simulate leadership scenarios. So that was another side. I like Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. Big people, big personalities. And then finally here to Harrisonburg in Virginia. I would say a place that I've never been to before. And I don't just mean like Harrisonburg. I mean like I've never been to this type of America. I've seen 3 different styles of America. They're all Americans, absolutely, but 3 different. And this is a smaller town. And I'm going to say respectful. What a bunch of hillbillies. I don't quite mean it like that. No. But it's a smaller center. But having said that, I mean, I can hardly be one to say this is a smaller center when I live in the country of 1 million people. So this is, that many in this local area, right? So,
well, yeah, and it's not like this area is 50,000-ish, maybe, and any of those places will, in Houston or Atlanta, have like neighborhoods that big,
right.
So it's definitely.
It's nuts. Can you imagine
a much different
and
environment?
I ask anyone who's maybe American or really anywhere from around the world, if you think about your local area and where you've got 1 million people, be that in your city, in your suburb, I don't know, in your enclave, in your region, wherever that is. Estonia has that many people, and we get a president, we get borders, we get a seat at the United Nations, all for 1 million white people. It's really odd. And if you think about who is your elected official, maybe it's the mayor, maybe it's the governor, that person is our president, and they get to sit alongside all the other presidents in the world. So the only way I can make the analogy is Estonia is like your place, except we also have to worry about the border and the military. Imagine if Harrisonburg had its own military.
Yeah, that would be something. Yeah, the cops around here, I think I told you this funny story because we were talking about how I was like, yeah, this place will be a little bit different than some of the other towns you've been to. And I was explaining a story about how we have a local livestock auction.
Oh, yeah.
A livestock auction. And what that is an auction where they sell off animals. These are farm animals. This is like something out of a time capsule from 100 years ago. And our local police decided to descend on a cow that escaped from the livestock auction, and they came down on that cow full force, guns pulled, and actually
this is so good.
The cops didn't even, they started shooting across from each other towards this cow, and of course they shot the cow, but one of the cops shot another cop because he's shooting right across from it. It was a big story in the newspaper. They got, oh man,
this is tremendous. The police had a blue on blue while dealing with a local bovine emergency. It's not the Taliban.
No,
it's
that's
not
Osama
who's coming to town, and we've had an unfortunate mix-up. It's a cow, and as I understood, like this dude unloaded his revolver into the cow.
It was probably a clip or something.
This
was pre me moving to Harrisonburg, but it's kind of one of those local stories that's happened. But yeah, so that's the kind of town Lewis has been staying in. So it's 2 things: it's college and farming. So. Right. You're getting like that, and then
what about the gentleman
American culture
we met at the local diner? I was introduced to a local delicacy called scrapple. Some sort of, as I understand, you take all the good bits off the pig, and then whatever's left, you boil it down to some sort of pate, and then you fry it up, and that's some goodness that you want to have. And I had a little bit. It was all right. Now, we had this older couple, and the old bloke's got his Trump hat on. It wasn't a MAGA hat. I wish it said, it was just said Trump 2024. At least it was current.
You don't really see... Yeah, I can't think of the last time I saw an actual real MAGA hat.
Like the red.
Yeah, because...
iconic red.
That would be, but I mean, there's probably somebody around here wearing
No doubt, there's a bunch here.
Yeah, you're in. Like when you get away from the cities, you're definitely in.
Yeah. And
rural areas.
So, as will be, we struck up a conversation with this lovely old couple, and he's asking, what do you do, where you come? And I was explaining, I'm a leadership consultant. I help teams to work better. And the old bloke was straight into it. Well, maybe what you need to do, go down to Washington and help them. They need a bit of that help down there. And then without missing a beat, the old lady grabs her purse and whacks him. Like, don't you start with that. Bam! Gives him a good old whack across the chest. So she's seen this conversation before.
She's like, yeah, don't start.
Yeah, don't start.
It's like, guy's on vacation. Give him a break. He doesn't need to be immersed in the absolute buffoonery of American politics.
And I would enjoy it. I'd be finding. I would like to hear his story. I'm a bit. Well, I would like to say I'm default attached, but if Trump gets into office, then I'll be speaking Russian. So maybe not. But anyway, I would have still enjoyed to hear his opinion on such things.
Well, yeah,
that's it. And not only that,
I'm sure that it would have been just that Trump was great because he had a Trump hat on.
Okay,
that's probably what he would have thought.
I mean, you don't wear a hat of someone you don't like. It's got to be that.
Yeah.
Not only this old gentleman though, he also knew who Steve's great grandfather was.
Right.
How did it come? You said the surname or something, or you said something. Then he's like, I know that. What was that? Tell us about that.
Yeah, he had. Well, I guess it was more interesting because we went to the diner and they sat right next to us in the diner. The couple did, and then they thought, or the staff thought, that we were all together because there was multiple seats they could have sat in, but they sat right next to us. It's in a long bar, like at any bar, and I think that they heard Lewis's accent when we were talking, of course, and then were wondering what we were doing there. And then they asked, and then I told them that I was bringing them, and they asked, what are you, hey, how you doing? What are you doing here? And what we say? We said he wanted to go see somewhere local. And I said, this is about as local as it gets, right? And then we mentioned that this was a place that's been around for, and there's more about this in the video that we have coming about the tour, or your time here, that has been around, gosh, a really long time. I mean,
your family has been around here for some time.
Family has, yeah, exactly. The family's been here for longer than the restaurant, but anyway, my great grandfather started going to the restaurant back, and I have no idea when, but that's the original family member who went to it back in in the 50s probably, or 60s on the regular basis. And so he's like, well, why? I guess they wanted to know how I knew about L&S, and I mentioned my name, and now, oh yeah, I know you're they were stone builders, stone masons, and I said, yeah, that's it. Because that's what my family did around here, was they were stonemasons.
Right, so to give you some idea of the local history that Steve's family has around here, that, I mean, if you're an old timer, everyone knew everyone even more than before right now, right?
Well, yeah, because this is a town that's bigger than it's probably ever been. So back then it would have been even smaller,
Yeah. And so that old mate heard my accent and was immediate, and that's fine. I don't mind that. But for me, I think my moment of glory was when we're in the Verizon office, which was possibly Steve's lowest moment that I've ever seen him at, having to spend nigh on 2 to 3 hours in the Verizon office. And we walk in there. Steve's got to get a new phone. His wife is there. His family's there. I'm there as well. And they're trying to be as helpful as they do in Verizon, right on. And who is who? And they're like, "Can we help you? Can we help you? Can we help you?" And the guy looks at me and he's like, "Can I help you?" And I'm not a punked comedian. I'm not this character comedian who can go and lead people down the path. But for some reason, as soon as the Verizon guy said to me, "Can I help you, sir?" I said, "No, I am sorry. I don't have a cellular phone of the mobile. We don't have this in my country. In my country, we just have very long cable. That's all. Cable go down street, cable go around corner. This is all you need."
You forgot to mention that this was after you walked in without saying anything and knocked over a display.
Oh yeah, I'd already knocked over stuff. So I'm establishing my character to this guy.
They were not. It was interesting. Not sure whether you were really like that or
right. And you can see he's looking.
He's like,
and,
okay.
and I can't do it. I'm not very good at keeping the character up for a very long time. So I was like, no.
I wasn't sure. That's what you said.
Yeah, no, man, I'm fucking with you. I'm Australian. It's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, fun stuff, right? Talking about meeting somebody in the diner, the Trump diner, and then the Verizon store. It's like the two worst things that we had happen this weekend. Was definitely the Verizon store.
Well, for
Now,
you, Verizon's fine for me, but you weren't having a good time. Would you break your phone? Was it?
Oh well, yeah. We went out. It just fell out of my pocket, and it wouldn't open. So.
It was serendipity. You had that old ass phone anyway. It's time.
That's what it said.
It's time for a
That's
new
what
one.
they all say.
That's what they all say. Old timer Steve.
I don't want to get rid of this old tech. So
true.
But what else? I mean, what about is there anything else about your American cultural experience that stands out? You want to share about anything? I don't know.
I got a weird observation, and again, so I'm Australian, but I'm coming from Europe, and not only that, but Northern Europe. So they're very stoic people, not very, you might say you're Estonians, you're Scandinavians, you're Nordic people, not very known for the emotions, not very known for being loud and crazy. They're stereotypically quiet people, don't talk a lot. It's not necessarily true, but that's the stereotype. On multiple occasions on this trip, in different circumstances, people have opened up about their life story or something and started to cry in front of me. And they're trying to tell their story. Hey, I've come from here. And
really,
all of a sudden this lady's saying she's had the breast cancer. And I'm like, what? Wow. It's like the second sentence in, I'm hearing about some ailment, and other people opening up. And I'm not here to mock. Don't get me wrong.
No,
I'm not,
I know what you mean.
I know it sounds crazy. I'm not here to mock. That's not my point. Is that I've seen and then people saying why something means. It's just, I've seen Americans cry on multiple occasions on this trip, just talking about themselves, and it's not something that we would typically do in Northern Europe. We'd be far more stoic about keeping it in.
I mean, you must have just run into some people who are desperately wanting to talk to anybody, because that doesn't normally happen to me either. I don't know.
Okay, you don't break out into tears when you're talking about
I just don't
the
go.
CRT, the tube.
I haven't talked to anybody. Just had them go into their life story and start crying. But I guess maybe that's something on me for not being
but I enjoy
approachable
that people want to tell the story.
So, I mean, you can't leave us hanging like that. Where did that happen?
Okay, so a couple of them did happen when I was doing this training in Dallas. So again, I'm respectful and mindful and I appreciate those people are open up. So it's not to mock. It's more just like, I feel like me and the Estonians were all sitting around going, what? These people are, what? Oh, okay. That's okay. We're listening. It's just a reaction. I can never imagine a group of Estonians were sitting around and someone saying, well, this happened, and that'd just be like, yes, and then mother had bed, and that would sort of be it. But that there was some admiration in there as well, that these people were so open they could just say something, and then I don't know, there's almost nothing I can say, and then tears are going to come to my eyes.
I mean, what's the context, I guess?
Oh, they were telling something about their life story or why
they were
something.
Was it just like in a conversation at a workshop in the work? Or
they're
was
in the
it
workshop.
More?
They're in the workshop in a group, and basically in each circumstance, they're telling something about themselves.
Wow.
Telling something about their life. Being very vulnerable in that group setting.
Yeah, so that's more of like a work thing where you've got a couple people, that.
Right.
Really,
it wasn't just like someone coming up to me in the diner.
I was gonna say, man, if it was just some random person on the street, hey, I know it's like in America, it's like, hey, how you doing? Means like hello.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Oh, you could have that happen. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that happen.
Sure. So I like that. Also, I think I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed. Steve took me to JMU college basketball game.
Yeah,
and
that was a lot of
he's
fun.
got some seasons tickets. We had a great time, and I saw Steve truly come out of his shell. He was jumping up and down. He was yelling. I saw it, and I loved it. Beautiful,
the obnoxious fan.
Beautiful enthusiasm.
I finally got my accessory here for my arch villain.
We do.
Middle-aged man cosplay outfit here.
A yellow Hawaiian shirt.
You're gonna hear this dog snore in the rest of this show now. But yeah, the basketball games, man. I don't I don't know. It's just a point where I could get out there and release, I think, a lot of just like enthusiasm, and it's the right place, right time for it. So you can, because most of the time, if you acted like that, people would probably want to lock you up
right on the street, something like that.
Plus, I wanted to make sure Zez got looked at by everybody in the stadium.
We'll try it. Excellent. No problems with that. I'm good with such things. So that was great. That enthusiasm being there in the college football and the way that college sports is so massive. Sometimes it seems like even bigger than the whatever National League, the NFL. Some of those college football stadiums are just unbelievable.
Yeah, not the ones around. The ones around here, I mean, are tiny compared to even like crazier ones. But it's. I think that there's still a lot of there's still even though now they do get paid now in the United States, like even college athletes on like football and probably basketball now, some of them, that it still feels like there's a bit of an innocence there, and it's like, to me, I mean, I like some pro sports and I watch it, but I'm not nearly as into that as the college game, because then I feel like, well, it's just like a grown guy who's paid a ton of money to play it, and that's his job. And I'm like, it kind of gets a little bit different where it's like you can still feel that fake Rudy Rudiger story that Disney sold all of us in America about like college kids going and kind of like achieving some kind of a dream through getting an education and a scholarship, and then again they're all young and like, you go and rooting them on. It's like they give a good energy. You get the crowd, which is a lot of kids in there too that are students.
Root them on. That's for my Australian friends out there, if you get what I'm talking about. You've got the band. The whole band is doing their thing with the trombones and a massive thing, and there's a couple sections with just the kids, and there's the kids who are running around in their pajamas and their fluffy Ugg boots or whatever it is, like typical college style. You're on campus. They're enjoying their time. There's a good atmosphere there. It was great. It was really nice to be there.
Well, good. I'm glad. Yeah, man. I like. We're kind of fortunate right now because the team's really good, and it wouldn't have been that fun. It wouldn't have even been something I'd have taken you to 2 or 3 years ago, when the team was really bad, and there would have been like 100 people in the arena, unless there was nothing else to do. So we are kind of in a come up period around here with the basketball team. Hopefully it will continue to last, and next time you come, it'll be more fun too.
Oh, it's great. We had a good time. So yeah, I mean, enjoying the United States. 3 very different centers, but all American, all expressing themselves similarly, but a little bit different. I love that energy, the enthusiasm, and while I mock and make fun of like, oh, you Americans, you'll turn on the waterworks at any moment and yell, that unjustified enthusiasm is something that I needed in my life right now, and I appreciate that you've given it, and all everyone around me has given it. So it's been good, mate.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's always fun. I mean, like I said, I was glad that you were able to come, and I hope you got. I hope there wasn't too much left on the table that we didn't get to try to at least see, or something that you feel like you missed out on, or anything. I think we're good. If it just saves it for next time, I guess.
Absolutely. There's more. And I think also being here with you, talking with you, first of all, feels totally natural. Again, we've never met before. The other day that he picks me up in the airport, this goddamn old Ford boat yacht white thing that he drives from the 90s just rolls up. I land at Dulles Airport, and I could see Steve coming at least like, I don't know, a kilometer away or something, this big white American car coming to pick me up. I'm super happy about it. And to see you and your family, and to get that other perspective on you, to see the beautiful monument to RetroTech and Americana that is the wood grain bunker. It's beautiful. It's really nice in there. We did a lot of tour wood today. There's a lot of wood in here to see the work that Steve does. So I enjoyed that. It's felt very natural, and I feel like I've also learned a little more by talking with your wife, talking with your family, hanging out, having a good time with them as well. So,
yeah, Well, I mean, it's been an awesome time, and it's been too short, I guess.
Sure.
Feels like so.
We got some more. Next
We
up,
got some
in
other things, but-
maybe May or something. I might be in
we'll
Nashville.
see.
Let's see.
And
That'd be a bit nuts. So we head up to Nashville for a couple of days.
yeah,
and
everybody knows Cole's getting sniffing his.
he's getting
come on.
there. He's
There you go.
doggy. And I was sleeping in the wood grain bunker. And I think I can't decide what I was more excited about, to sleep in the wood grain bunker with all the amazing retro tech about me, or to sleep in the same bed that Bob, Retro RGB, has.
You're number 3.
I'm
Bob,
number 3.
Let's see. It went
Who else?
Bob, and then Triforce Mark from My Life in Gaming, and then you. And I don't believe there's been anybody
This
else.
is quite the Airbnb. This is retro Airbnb
That's right.
that we've got here.
You get a nice bunk bed.
It's
That's
great.
It's a wonderful bunk bed. It's actually a pretty good mattress. It's like a nicer mattress on the bunk bed there.
It's a
'Cause
nicer one.
when I first bought the bunk beds, I did not get the nice mattresses. I got the cheap mattress, and then I spent a night on the bunk bed with.
For reasons
this was
we won't
not
explain.
even. This was at the old house in Tennessee, so this would have been. And who knows what the reasoning was? Probably just trying to go to bed or something and get away from everybody. And I lay down, and there's like a spring sticking through the mattress into my back. I'm like, yeah, that's why this is like the $50 new mattress. And so now they're nice and comfortable. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun to have you here. And so next time when we go somewhere else, we'll have to see. And if you think, yeah, things can be crazy in Nashville. You know, it's like a mix of Texas and here, right? You got a bunch of crazy, wild rednecks and hooligans there too, man.
It's going to be fun.
And a bunch of bridesmaids riding around. It's the bridesmaid. Nashville is the bridesmaids. No, what's the? No, why do I keep saying bridesmaids? When you're getting married, it's a bachelorette.
Hens
bachelorette,
party.
sorry, but yeah, is that what they call it? Bachelorette party here is in the Nashville.
Oh, that's where you
United
go
States.
to Nashville.
Yeah, that's where they go, and it's ridiculous. If you go there, you'll go to the airport in Nashville, and you'll see on the weekend there will be these girls that are saying they're on their bachelorette party, and they'll be wearing like a sign that says, "Buy me a drink. Here's my Venmo." And I'm like, why? What kind of stuff is that? Where it's like, no, you don't even get to say hello to me. Like, first off, you're telling me. First off, if I'm a guy who goes around and buys women drinks, I don't want to buy the women that are probably saying that they're in a relationship and getting married. Now, that's just if I was, because I'm not that. But I always thought that was funny. And then to just be like, no, just Venmo me the money, so
This is
I'll
like
buy the drink.
offline OnlyFans.
Oh, it's even worse though.
You get to simp for some chick while she's standing across the bar from you. At least you get to see her. I don't know. It's better than OnlyFans, I guess. You actually get to see the person there. So
I don't
it's the
know.
place to go. All right. So it's
That's
so
what
where
you'll
would
see.
be the male? Is it just Vegas? Where's the male Bucks
That's
party?
not. I don't know because I never lived there. I just lived near Nashville, so
okay.
it was always that. And there was horror stories where they'd have these buses riding around, and these girls would be drunk and wearing these short skirts in their bachelorette parties, and everybody down standing at street level would look up at the bus and see, Angela's cookies and everything else that was going on under there.
What's Angela cooking? Got them cookies.
So, yeah, there's what you're going to see in the party town of Nashville, especially if it's warm, which it is like 3/4 May. Oh, yeah.
Right. That's going to be okay.
May?
So we're going to have a little rendezvous in
You'll
Nashville.
see, you'll have to bring your cowboy boots, your cowboy hat, your full getup.
Oh yeah. My buddies, my friends from the leadership company Combat Ready, when we're in Dallas, one of them went to what was the store? Not Texaco.
Tacovas.
Tacovas. Why do I keep getting that wrong? Went to a Tacovas.
He went to a Texaco. If he got boots from a Texaco, yeah, they might be like $50 boots. Yeah, that'd be some real nice.
There's nothing funnier to see some guy from Eastern Europe in $500 cowboy boots, a 400 euro hat, and go, "I am cowboy." I think it just warms my day when my friend did that.
Yeah, come to America, cosplay a cowboy. It's literally, that's not a cheap store to go buy boots or anything. That's like the high-end place.
Yeah, 500 was like mid-level for that place.
You could spend a couple grand
and you
in
can
there
go
in a
up from
heartbeat.
there. You have a set of cowboy boots, don't you?
Yes, but that's the store we were talking about.
Yes.
You know you're spending a lot of money when you walk into a store. You don't have to buy anything, and they start offering you beer or whiskey.
Yes.
You can go in there, and they'll say, "Would you like a beer, or would you like a drink of bourbon?" And you're like, "Wait a second, what?"
This totally caught me off guard. So it was about 7 of us, I think, about to go out and have some food in downtown Fort Worth, sorry. And we went to the place, and then where they're looking for the boots, and the lady comes and goes, "You boys want a beer?" And it caught me off guard so much. I thought it was a scam at first. Like, she's going to tell me to go to the bar, and that's where her friends work. I think I've been in Eastern Europe too long. I'm expecting.
Thought you were going to get like roofied into Tacovas.
Exactly. I didn't know what it was.
They were looking for the perfect Australian to drug, skin, and turn into next week's fashionable boot. Zest. They were gonna turn your beard into a fashionable hillbilly necktie. You know.
I didn't know. That's what I'm used to. But it turns out it's not. Turns out they just gave all 7 of us beers. And I guess it worked. I mean, my friend walked out with about $700 worth of products, so certainly still worth it in the end.
Yeah.
And look, in fairness, it was a beer that comes, not like, I don't know if you can see in the footage, but that's like a proper tin, like a proper tin of beers, full size. But it was one of those skinny tins that like Red Bull comes in.
Right.
So it was a little bit feminine, but we were still full cowboys, so it was okay. We could have the feminine beer because it was free.
Yeah. I wonder, and there's another one. You can tell your friends there's another one of those in Nashville.
Okay,
you can go up there and get them to hook up. It's right downtown. Get them some drinks. Now, another interesting thing is there used to be, Nashville got crazy for a while, and it's still probably is pretty crazy, but they had bull riding. And I mean, you can get just about it. Not real bull riding, like a machine out in the street down there that was in the shape of a pecker.
Now, what do you mean?
A giant pecker, and then
woodpecker, or
like a Johnson, like a big Johnson,
right?
And this thing was not inside the bar; it was out front of the bar in the street. So it was always, you would have these, of course, but a lot of, it was mostly the bachelorettes again.
Sure.
Jumping out and jumping on this giant Johnson, riding it around in the street. And so Nashville was starting to get a really crazy party town reputation there for a minute.
Look, let's be straight. He's talking about penis, okay? Penis. And now I've come to understand also on this trip. Now, y'all know me. I appreciate you if you watched a few episodes of this Cathode Ray podcast. I'm Australian. I don't tend to hold back on the sweary language. And some people, have made comments about it, and I appreciate that's a thing. So, because my perspective, first of all, I'm Australian. Every second word is the C word. It's the F word. It's just they're regular, everyday terms of endearment that we use in my country. And not only that, I live in Eastern Europe where people speak excellent English, no problems with that, but still not the native language. So while you might say very rude, the F word or the C word, let's say, and they know it's bad and they might still not want to hear it, it hits different when it's not your native language. So I get away with swearing all the time. And I'm thinking even back to a week and a half ago when I was hosting a big conference, biggest business conference in the Baltics. I'm the host of the main stage. And I've got to say, a couple of times throughout the day, I dropped an F-bomb. And it was fine. No one's picking me up on it. I use it sparingly. I use it to emphasize a point because I know it raises stakes and I know it creates I'm using tension that I've learned how to work as a comedian. But the point is, still went down fine. And then I arrive here at Steve and his family, and within the first 20 minutes, I'm like $6 in the hole to Steve's daughter because it's $1 per swear word around here, and it's not even half an hour, and I'm already I'm gonna have to fork over cold hard cash.
That's right. We got to do something about you, heathen Australians.
Exactly. I'm here
We got to break this culture. We gotta bring some decency back into this culture. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, nobody wants to have. I mean, around here, you can't have your kid like cussing in classes and stuff or something now. So, in our house, it's swear words get $1, and it's mostly comes into being parents having to pay.
It works both ways.
No, mostly it's parents pay. But see, this is the thing I figured out in parenting, and this is a secret, but kids nowadays don't seem to care about anything besides the money. So a lot of times, if the kids are bad, we're like, yeah, we're just charging you $5 for that bad behavior. And then they get real upset, especially my son.
That's enough to motivate them. Okay.
Yeah. So it can be...
That keeps them in line, right on. Okay, absolutely. That would
like,
be
what are you
fiducial.
doing?
I mean, a swear jar. This is not a completely revolutionary idea to have a swear jar.
No.
But maybe, I mean, $5 a swear word. Dang. I mean, that would really be raising the stakes.
I know. That swear jar worked because they don't say it. Like I said, now it's just when I accidentally say it there or you say it, they're going to try to get money from us.
Right. It's a way for them to extort you more than anything. And I had a false positive. Your daughter gave me a false positive that I didn't say anything, and she's like, you said some, and there was, but in fact, in the other side though, there's probably been 3 more times where she hasn't picked up on a sweary that I said.
Why'd she see? But you got to remember, she's 8. She doesn't even know probably what half those words are.
She's confusing my accent as well.
She doesn't know what half those words are.
I really do enjoy here in America being able to more liberally say sir and ma'am. It just feels fine for me. I really like it. Like, yeah, no problems, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. I kind of picked up on this a lot when I'm hosting a conference, or even when we have a comedy show and I'm manning the door and taking money or something. Hello, sir. How can I help you? Hi, ma'am. How can I help you? And I don't know. I just got in this habit, so I'm really fine with anyone, which you can do apparently. Anyone, anywhere, it's fine to say yes, ma'am. You know, it's not a status thing. You just say it. I mean, maybe you don't say it to the crackhead. I don't know, but
you just gotta say it to the people that want to be called it, I guess, right? Don't say it to the people that don't want to be called ma'am or sir.
Ma'am, sir. Please, ma'am. Do you have to do more meth in my backyard? Please,
you
sir.
Can't, like, it's the South. There's a lot of people that are just going to be naturally yes, ma'am, yes, sir. So that's pretty common.
It's nice.
And, you know, you'll still get people hold doors for you.
Okay, that's a good thing.
I
had to learn that in Estonia. Okay, so again, different cultural things. Very, very strong thing in Estonia for the man holding the door.
If you drop like the gas station, if you're walking into the gas station in America, in the middle of nowhere, and right behind you comes a grandma, and then right behind that's like some Hell's Angels, you better be holding the door open for the grandma. Or you might go to the bathroom and
the Hell's Angels.
Angels might kick your ass for disrespecting the grandma.
I had to learn that from my girlfriend, from my employees, from all the basically women in my life. Because again, Australians, what are we? We live in tents. We live in the outback. We fight a kangaroo.
You have some of those beaded things that you put down in between the doorways, right?
Something like that.
So you just part the beads.
I've also on this trip had at least 2 people ask me, do you actually fight kangaroos?
Well, of course, right?
Well,
you look like you're the type that might fight a kangaroo.
Oh yeah, that's really my style. I'm really the kangaroo fighter. That's what they call me.
You look like you could knock a kangaroo out.
Oh god. Okay, wait. I'm gonna get myself another beer, and then maybe we should even do some retro topics.
Yeah,
some of that
we can move on to
a long time ago. This podcast was about CRTs.
That's right. What CRTs? What's the CRT?
Come on, Cole. Let's go, Cole. We're gonna get a beer, Cole. It's non-alcoholic.
Yeah, you don't want those. That's a twisted tea. Twisted tea. Get twisted.
The Twisted Tea did get me off balance, let's say, at the basketball game the other night. I think that was...
I don't know, man. See, like, I can't... They sell an IPA there that's from a local brewery that's like 8% alcohol.
Right, I was drinking
and
those
it's
too.
that one put me over the top too many times at the games, and I just stopped drinking it. So I went to the Twisted Teas, and those are... There's about as they're not nearly that strong. I think they're about 5% or something.
All right, so let's go. So
Yeah.
I want to go retro topic number 1, which has been my favorite topic all week. Ever since I walked into Steve's lounge room, and he's got a beautiful, I keep forgetting, 32-inch CRT, 32-inch CRT in his lounge room. Can you imagine the patience from his family? My God. And we're watching sports, we're watching TV, watching Roku actually on the big CRT, and of course have a little sticky beak, have a little pokey poke underneath about what's driving this, as any one of you would also. And lo and behold, strike me down, Mr. Steve Nutter, number 1 RetroTech USA, number 1 CRT man, talking about these things. He's using one of those $5 Amazon AliExpress HDMI to AV converters. And I can hear...
Let's get it right first. We got to make sure we're on the right pricing.
They're
point
$5.
here.
You can buy it from AliExpress for like $3.50.
Are you? Oh well, I don't get it. I had to pay at least $4.50 from the
go.
American version.
And I can hear Bob's losing his mind already. We know, and I've done these tests myself, we know that these units have between 1 to 3 frames of variable lag, and they don't do 240p. It's only 480i. But, Steve, it's
Well,
working very well for you.
oh, you mean they don't downscale to 240p?
No, they
Yeah.
only do 480i. But
Well,
what's the
they
big
wouldn't-
hack? We're only
they
watching
wouldn't-
TV.
Right. They're not. They're definitely not going to reproduce anything into 240p. That would be interesting if it would do that somehow.
No.
But no, it's the cheap. Sometimes there's a time and a place for certain things, and that's a time and a place for that thing, which is when you're just watching TV and you can use 3 to 5. You can use 10 frames of variable lag. I guess
matter.
it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. It's pretty much perfect for that, and perfect for playing, Mega Man, right?
Just having a bit of fun, right? Having a blast.
No, I'm joking. You can't play Mega Man.
Oh, because it's very
right.
precise. Sorry, I don't know. I didn't play
You
Mega Man.
blew my bad joke blew right over
I
your head.
blew it. I blew it all. Right. So for just TV, those
Yeah.
things, and I think part of why this topic is interesting is because, well, if we want to get the retro proper solution that doesn't have the lag and maybe even 240p, you've got to spend, I would say, $80 to $100 at least.
Yeah, and you're worried. I mean, you've really got to be concerned now with the thing we ran into with the other devices we were even testing, which is they would not. They were locked out of the HDMI protocol, which is just the
HDCP.
Yeah,
yes.
the security that's on a high definition signals that prevents you from, watching it, copying it.
Right,
Things.
which some
so you're
do,
going to
yeah.
have devices, and I think that
HDCP.
that's going to just keep getting more and more invasive on those signals. And it's interesting how a cheap $5 device, and then you go to a device that was originally hundreds, and it won't do it. And I think that might be an issue, though. Don't you think that? How isn't that there's got to be a reasoning kind of there? I would think that would prevent somebody in America from probably making that product. Another thing would be that they're going to be messing around with that HTCP. They're going to have to,
Okay.
right? They're going to, because the device we had, if it wanted to use it, we can't get past because what I was doing was using it to stream out of things.
Just Roku, yeah. Just
Yeah,
watch the
and
shit on
then
Roku.
that stuff is all encoded now. So you stream out of it, and you've got to have a device that it's almost like the old school time-based correctors.
Oh yeah.
For tapes, so that you can get around the little macrovision scribbly scrobblies they put in the top of the screen for you.
It is like the modern version of macrovision. It's one of those tough things because a lot of people, and I guess this is always on my mind because I'm endlessly just looking through Reddit and other forums, and it's like every other post is someone saying, "Oh, I found this old CRT. I wish I could emulate games on my PC and play it, or I wish I could do some." People wanting to take, and then if it's PC and VGA, often the next best solution is to get this really old ATI video card, and then you got to have the proper slot for it, and it could get I think maybe 240p out or something, because I think even modern video cards won't even give you 480p. Like that's even getting a little harder. So there's not this turnkey solution, and I appreciate people like, yeah, found this €10 CRT. I'm having a good time. I've watched all RetroTech's videos. I'm amped up for this. And then unfortunately you sound like some sort of gatekeeping douche because you're like, well, the really only way to do it is $100 or this $5 thing. And if you want to play games, if you want to play games, the $5 solution isn't good.
No.
Because now the reason is you might say, well, lag 3 frames. I don't care, Lewis. 3 times 16, whatever it is, 45, 50 milliseconds. 45, 50 milliseconds. If a PlayStation 5 game has 50 milliseconds of lag, it's good. It's perceived as good.
Right.
So
Well,
then
of
you might
course.
say, well, Lewis, why, if this device is adding 50 milliseconds, why is that an issue? And it's an issue because those older games, and Mega Man here, as I missed the joke, meaning that's a game that has very precise jumps, very precise movement is needed. And it's not just that you're getting 3 or 4 frames of lag. Those devices have a thing where the lag is variable, and you can verify this with a time sleuth or another monitor lag testing device that you put it up to screen, you start testing, and it says like 15 milliseconds, 16 milliseconds, 17 milliseconds, 18, and it starts counting up all the way to like 45, 50 milliseconds. Then the device loops back around and it's 15 and 16, and that's what variable lag on a output on a screen is. And that's hard because your brain can't adjust to the lag. Your brain gets tripped up. So that's why the $5 device isn't good for games.
Right. No way. It would be. If it was good for games, goodness. Yeah. So I'm trying to think. There are. Now there are other downscalers that you can get that output component, right? That are virtually lag free, right? That they come down to the component, because I've got some of those that I use with the time sleuth to test. You basically can drop all the way down to test the green on there to test composite video inputs.
But they are not converting resolution.
Yeah.
You've got to be sending over your HDMI
Exactly.
480p, 240. You can send 240p over HDMI if you
can
want.
send it.
Right, so it's not doing any conversion.
But I've had that thing squirrel out on me too with just weird resolutions from some of the consoles. In that it doesn't. You talk about how, it makes sense because like Mike Chi spent all the time trying to perfect those resolution switches on his high-end device. You mess around with his $20 scaler and you're switching resolutions that it's getting in, and you're like, why is this in black for a minute? And I have to reset it or something. It's obvious that's an issue.
Okay, so we're getting to the point that this is clearly... It's not just like, why hasn't someone done it? Well, someone hasn't done it because it's clearly a difficult problem. If Mike Chi is, struggling with this, or not struggling, but at least working at it, that means it's at least a significant problem. And also, my requirement in this hypothetical situation is the device costs $50 or less. So $50 is like, I will get it for that. By the time you get 80, 100, you start thinking like, is that really it? So so the only caveat as well with the $5 device for watching the video on the CRT is that it does not have any correction for the aspect ratio. So you're watching 720p, 1080p, which is 16:9, letterboxed. This device just squishes it into 4:3. So we were watching very skinny NFL players.
Yeah, no, I was laughing. I always laugh with that. They always say that the TV adds 10 pounds or whatever. And then you look and you'll watch that and you'll be like, dadgum, like Terry Bradshaw and all them guys on the pregame show never looked skinnier in their life. Well, they should be Charles Barkley. They should be like begging people to watch it like this because when you watch content, you'll have a good visual demonstration of this in your video, but you'll see videos that were originally 4:3 all of a sudden have smaller or weird letterboxes on the side of them, and then they're squished down to being like 3:3 or something. And then the 16:9 is squished to be in 4:3, and it's not like losing image. It's squishing 16:9 into 4:3, and there's no controls beyond what your television can do, really, or adding a different device again.
So that $5 device would be, I almost would say, perfect for watching TV if there was a small button that just toggled 16:9 letterbox. And then it would almost be perfect.
Yeah, this is kind of stinks, but Roku used to have just a Roku that had an HDMI out, and it had straight up ketchup, mustard, and mayo.
Oh, I guess.
It had the 3 RCA jacks right on it, too. So you could go out, and not only that, you could program it where it would not, if you were using those AV inputs, it would not screw up the aspect ratio. It would come out like I would stream, for example, I could go in and I could pick on my streaming. I could go to, at the time, you could stream Netflix had Star Trek, all right, Next Generation.
Okay. Yes.
With that old device, you could go on there and stream Netflix in 480i, and it would be not the letterbox. Like now, if I do it, it's going to have letterboxes on the side. It's going to be 3:3 aspect ratio. There you would get the real aspect ratio of the image would come through that way. So one way as we progress again, we lose this awesome stuff that was just
these are all balances
standard with the old device by themselves.
For the same use case, then one thing that might work well and might work for some other people then is another way to do it is to use a hacked PlayStation 3. Okay. So a hacked PlayStation 3 has HDMI, which is very nice, but also has analog out. It can do 480i. It can't do 240p. So it's not that great for necessarily to get down to the emulated retro games, but to watch, it's very good because you can use the regular. It's got that PlayStation multi out, and on the hacked PlayStation 3, you can get fairly modern media players that will stream your content from your NAS, from your retro NAS, or you could copy them to the hard drive, I guess, if you want. So that is the way. If I was going to watch Star Trek in 4:3, I would just put the files onto my retro NAS and stream them straight to my PlayStation 3.
Can you? So I guess my only thing about the older tech is, can you put new apps on there? Like that's the thing. Like, can you see? That's the reason that the Roku is relevant, is because you can get modern stuff on there. But again, you're still just doing like the old school thing where they were like, you better get your analog TV converter boxes for your over-the-air television channels or you won't be able to watch TV. So we are literally the grandparents of the TVs now being like, I need a converter box before they stop selling them. So I can still watch,
other side of the PlayStation.
So I can still watch my news shows on my old TV, right? And composite.
Right.
Like, that's so funny. We're now
Well, the other side of PlayStation at a disadvantage is the Roku. You press a button and it turns it on, and it's right there, and it's ready to go. Anyone in the family, your family would probably accept it. I don't mean Steve's, but I mean your fam, whoever's, right? The problem with the PlayStation, you got that big old PlayStation 3 remote. You got to load it up. You've all played PlayStation. You could go for the the user, scroll across down to the thing, wait for the thing to load up. Then it's not exactly the most intuitive and nice user interface on Moven, I think is the app on PlayStation 4. It's PlayStation 3. So yeah, it works, but it's not this convenient home entertainment solution either.
Well, and I'm just cheap. I don't want to buy another TV either, like a new one. I have so many TVs here. I'm like, well, I have to give them away, but them to way to watch TV. Of course, we were laughing about this with my wife. That TV originally came from my mom and her house years ago, and she was in town last time she came here with my stepfather. She was like, I don't want to be rude to you guys, but I think that TV's going out. Can we get you a new one? And I was like, no, you're not allowed to buy me a new TV. No. I was like, I'm not getting rid of that one. I can fix it if something happens. And literally the only thing that was wrong was the batteries and the remote were bad, and she just needed to change. So when you press the button, it didn't do anything. But at the same time, it's not, even the way it's set up now, it's trying to make it easier, but it's still not the easiest thing if something happens. I used to like make little guides, and I'd tape them to the inside of the furniture that the TV was in. And I'd be like, if somebody would come over, like a babysitter, I'd be like, yeah, if you go in that room and you try to watch TV, try to follow the guides. And like, then I would have remotes associated, like write a number, because it's just gets crazy kind of trying to use modern and old stuff and be a cheapskate too with the stuff you love.
That's so funny. Your mom wants to get, she doesn't realize that old TV,
she probably forgot that that's her old TV,
is literally the way that you support your family. Like, we're not getting rid of that. That's what's paying the bills and putting my kids through school are those old TVs. All right, so we're sticking around with them.
Stick with the old tubes forever. So.
And in this conversation, I had been alluding to, there is a way to do this if we wanted to downscale an aspect ratio and all that stuff. And I said $80 to $100. I'm alluding to a GBS control that if you've got one of those, Steve. Oh, there's one sitting right there, actually. The GBS control, the fan-made project made by Rama to rehack an old bit of hardware. But my point is, yes, they're $15. So fine, if you had you can buy them for $15 from Amazon or AliExpress, hack them yourself, do the wiring, do that fine pitch soldering, possibly create something cheap for yourself. But if you want it off the shelf and you wanted one that has HDMI and actually is nice, like the unit that Steve has up there, that's you're getting up to 80, a little more with postage by the time you do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's always new iterations of that device coming out and things. I think there's more new ones coming out where the people are able to put the HDMI directly on the board. It's got like wired hardware, and or like wired adapters mounted inside the shell, and it does a great job for what it's for. But that device is, while it's even great, it can be, it's another thing that is not that it's not easy to use, unfortunately. And I mean like changing resolutions and things in it. It's not like you could go and tell somebody, oh yeah, go log on and do this and change the resolution if they don't know what they're doing, kind of.
Right, and respectfully to Rama, we appreciate the project.
There's limits of that.
It's awesome, but again, it's not family friendly. If you've used the GBS control, you've got to log into a web interface to be able to change resolutions. Fine for people like us, and no doubt if you're listening to the podcast, but not so easily for the family. To work it out if it's not already set up. Yeah,
and so you've got that challenge, obviously, and then you could literally, go in with that thing, and it can be a little confusing as to even me sometimes, which is plugged into which. Now I know too there are solutions for that, where again, if you get probably these newer, nicer units are going to have you can add an OLED display to help out to tell you those things, and it really is a great device for what it is. It's definitely the best option to me that's an unfair statement to the OSSC, but again, I feel like then you're even moving into a higher price range. So
right, and I know Lou from Lou's Retro Source was talking about a project to add on to the DE10 Nano, and that you could use the DE10 Nano as the downscale. And again, it's great, but $200 for your DE10 Nano.
Yeah, we were looking at that today, and we were looking at DE10 Nanos being $230, and it's great that there's all these capabilities and projects and possibilities, but I think that we see, like, you can go, I mean, this is an insane rabbit hole you can climb into and fall down, like Marco Retro has, or Marco's been displaying on his channel for ages now about how many different options, abilities, ways, and ultimately you can get insane on your costs on just trying to downscale something.
Right. And I can hear the comments already saying, but what about an Extron? I don't know, a Mosher, or maybe even the VSC 500 or 700. True. I've got you can use a Extron VSC 500 or 700 to go down to 480i. But I also, and I didn't say this originally, I wanted to find a new device, a device that you can buy new today, not an older piece of technology. That was sort of a little bit of my criteria as well. Yeah. Yes, there are a few, but whether you can get an Extron VSC 700 is up to, the gods in your local area. They're not that expensive, true, but they're also not a new piece of technology that you can order from Amazon.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, then you're incorporating a lot of different things in your setup. Usually, they're usually different build outs, and you're not going to be, dependent. Again, we're talking about two different needs, right? I mean, you're more worried. The gaming thing is always going to be more about being more precise, obviously, than the movies or just watching television through a streaming app or anything. But it's definitely, there's no perfect solution kind of for it.
No, I think it's one of those areas that a lot of people are enthusiastic for, and there isn't just this turnkey, let's say, solution for it right now.
The real Chads are the ones who have just sold in or bought into the HDMI CRTs, and they just plug the Roku directly into their lovely HDMI capable CRTs, and then they don't care.
Right. Now, even that's its own rabbit hole, because a HD CRT is going to be fine for watching TV. It's going to be awesome. But as you've done work, our dear friend Shank has done a lot of work, that those you have to be very clear about what resolution you send into a HD CRT if you want low lag gaming. And they usually have one native resolution that is like great, and everything else is dog shit.
Yeah, and I don't even know why anybody would want to play games on those monstrosities. I'm just kidding. Whatever. You can do whatever you want out there. Okay?
All right. I want to talk about... Oh, well, you actually go to your one. Go.
All right. Let's take a second here to talk about a classic topic that really I gave up on because I was tired of tracking this stuff very much for a while and being called a market pump and dumper.
Oh, he is.
Yep. The Gordon Gekko of the CRT market, buying and selling people's lives. But the CRT marketplace, right? A fun past, present, future. Well, I thought we could discuss a little bit on that. I've got some interesting things on that front to talk about. I thought we could go all over with this, but the CRT marketplace. Let's start with where kind of we've come from and my, understanding of it, let's say, as it's doing its curvature.
Very good.
Over our time, right? Because that's something I used to track a lot, but
they're my favorite videos of yours. Market Watch. Right. We all love them, but I take a lot of work.
Well, it's just at the end too. It's not as fun. That I don't know. It didn't seem. It used to be really fun. Now I don't know why. The last couple. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. The market, right? What's it doing? A lot of people ask this question. It's a good question, especially if you're trying to buy one, sell a CRT, whatever. I guess this is a good thing for most people that are in it. It's not like other collectible items cratered and dipped back much below its peak pricing since, you know, a lot of collectibles have really fallen off for the last couple of years.
After pandemic, right? But particularly if we watch reserved investments, the Kimmies and Poindexters have gone from any sort of collectible market. So now there's a bit of a dip.
Anything.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, there's a couple of hot items still that are staying hot, but collectible items over time, you know, it's like anything. It just goes up or goes down, up, blah, blah. It doesn't take much for that to go one way or the other. But it's good to see that the CRTs didn't just like go all the way up and then just crash back down to the ground. And they were able to, and still have able to maintain and hold their value. And I think that proves that they're going to, because there's a few reasons that we can get into a little bit more on that. But I will say that basically where it started. So, you know, I mean, the days are long gone of going and for the most part finding these super cheap lots of PVMs and CRTs.
Okay, professional monitors.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
That's going to be very rare these days.
I mean, it could still happen, but
absolutely,
most of the time it's not happening. Like, a lot of those things are done. A lot of the things, a good majority of the PVMs are probably in the people's hands now that want to use them, right? Okay. And so that's the difference between this and a lot of other assets. There's not a lot of them. I mean, there's a good amount of them, but there's not a lot of them, and they don't stay fine over the time by just
so there's
there.
probably not this large reserve of PVM sitting there which could affect market prices. And I'll compare this because I've learned this from Reserved Investments YouTube channel when we're talking about a video games market, that the Super Mario 64 that went to 800,000, 1 million, 1.2, whatever. The problem with that is we don't know how many copies of Super Mario 64 are sitting in basements, in sheds, in boxes. There's just, you don't know, right? So that's going to be a problem for that. But again, and we will bring this back to the bulk and the size make these items unique. And we're fairly sure there's not warehouses somewhere packed with PVMs just waiting to flood the market.
Well, and it's also a little bit of a different kind of a comparison, I think, too, because when you talk a lot about things like a lot of collector's items you're not actually using as like those graded video games, they're not doing anything besides sitting on your shelf. If you wanted to just buy a PVM to sit on your shelf that was broken, you could go and buy one for relatively cheap.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? If it was just like to do the same thing that super expensive game is doing. But the good thing is you're actually using the the CRT that you've decided for yourself. And so that is always the biggest kind of factor, you know, is the condition of the individual CRT when you're pricing that.
Sure.
When it comes to the overall marketplace, that's when it comes down to, of course, supply and demand, really. And the supply is not getting any smaller or any bigger, sorry.
Right.
And the demand has been proven kind of to me over the last decade almost to be enough to be...
I would say it's growing. Now, clearly there must be some market cap with demand. Maybe we get too old. All of a sudden we're the boomers and we die off. So, okay, as with all collectibles. But it does seem like demand is growing. But I would even get more nuanced about the idea of supply and demand when it comes to CRTs, because you are not dealing with a large market when it comes to such a bulky product. If you have a comic book, if you have Super Mario 64, I can easily put it in a postage and send it anywhere in the world. So therefore, that means the supply and demand of the whole world is for a video game, right? But you cannot so easily shift something big and heavy as a CRT. So what I think, and I'm no economic student here. This is my own economic theory that I have thought up. That it limits the effects, or the supply and demand is regional. Because if I can't move that device, then it's not a supply and demand. So I have sitting at home my PVM, my 20-inch BVM. Now, if that set was here in the United States of America, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, who knows? That thing might be worth. But if my set is sitting in the country of Estonia, out there on the edge of the empire, and no one wants to buy it that I can ship it to, well, what is its value then?
Yeah, you're right. And this is that's always going to be an issue with that, where there's a couple places where they're going to be sold for a lot more, right. And there are going to be other places where you can get them still, and nobody else wants them in your country. And depending on the rules of your country and the countries around you, is it easy to even get it in and out or move it around?
Right.
It could not be. So America's a place where the market is really good for them. Mm-hmm. Another one is your homeland. They seem to be like people paying crazy numbers.
Right.
There
in Australia.
In Australia also.
But that's also, again, we've got Australia very far away from me. Everything in Australia is crazy expensive right now. When I was growing up, we just didn't have the same volume of video games. Yeah. It was there. Absolutely. It was all there, but it just wasn't as prevalent or common. We always got things late and not quite as much stock. So there's definitely not as many professional monitors kicking around Australia. So I imagine, and shipping anything in out of Australia these days is going to be tough.
Right. So there again, you've got a market where people want something.
Bring the mic closer.
It's a little bit, you got a market, you want something. It's a little bit further from everywhere else. And if people want something, or that's a market where there's enough people that want those
There's
things,
a lot of demand in Australia. There's a lot of cashed up bogans. They're my people.
They want it. And so they're going to... they'll be willing to spend more. Mm-hmm. We saw some recent sales of BVMs that were the multi-format, bigger widescreens, going for $10,000 still now recently. I mean,
now that was, let's talk, since it's that was in the United Kingdom.
Yeah,
there was 10,000. It was 9,000 pounds.
And it's hard to say where that ended up. Mm-hmm. It could have ended up really almost anywhere that would globally accept the shipment. I guarantee you that it's probably, I mean, the idea of it sitting in England and staying in the country would kind of surprise me, I think.
Right. So it's not impossible. And by the time you're getting into the multiple thousands,
right. Once
up
you're
into
that level, aren't you?
Shipping is, yeah.
It's like, again, it's like somebody who wants a candy cab in their collection. Specifically, those things are being shipped all the time, and they're ending up here from China now, and Japan, where they've come over here, and then they're going all over the place, and people are willing to spend the money to ship them, because once you get into that higher end market, those are the kind of people who are used to doing that usually. And they know they're going to be spending that on the...
Sure. So for something that's 10,000, it's worth to spend one or two.
If they know what
who knows?
Getting,
if they know what they're getting, if it's a high-quality product, to ship it to wherever that might be around the world. That's what I tell... I mean, I really want a Bang & Olufsen CRT. I know of them a couple in Talon. I really just haven't got off my ass to go and get them. But yeah, one guy wanted like 150, and I was like, bro, I'll give you 50. Like... He's like, no, I want 100. And I was like, okay, it can sit. I literally wrote to him and said, okay, look, mate, if you have the storage room, if it's not taking up space and it's not being a problem in your storage, I guess it can sit there. But if you ever want to get rid of that and you want to convert that into cash, just write to me and I'll come and take it off your hands. Or the other one was was a beautiful 15 kilohertz widescreen Trinitron, beautiful monitor. I should really go get it. On the 3rd floor, no elevator. And then she was like, I want $80 for it. I'm like, I'll give you 30. I don't know, whatever. And she's like, no, what, 50? And I'm like, lady, I'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks. She's like, yeah, I had an offer. I'm like, no, I don't think. I do not believe that you genuinely got an offer for that. Don't try and, I would be absolutely doing you a favor by taking this away.
Yeah, there's still that whole aspect of it. So yeah, there's two ways. You either try to find the really expensive CRTs from the people who already have them, who know, some of it a history behind them, or you get it from a recycler if you're getting the PVM, or you go get grandma's TV from your local marketplace. It's really like the three things. Or again, like we also saw the trash pick, right? The trash pick, you can get some stuff in the garbage.
Still possible. It can still happen.
So either one of those, you're going to have, I've heard so many horror or funny stories about people walking in and to other people's houses and them telling them to go get the TV out of their bedroom, and they're telling me how they managed to squeeze out of apartments with 32-inch JVC-D series, and I'm like, man, you're crazy. Like, I wouldn't even do that. But there's always going to be, when you go get those cheap CRTs, there's generally a story with them.
Right.
So,
and I think the point also that I take away from that little story that you told, that you can go to your friend, grandma, whoever it might be,
but
and
grandma ain't got a PVM, right?
yeah, grandma ain't got a PVM. That's for sure. But if you find one at your friend's place, the school, the whatever, that's fine and good on you, but that won't upset market forces.
No, that's not.
Finding one isn't like someone finding a crate of Super Mario 64 in an old warehouse,
right,
which potentially absolutely could be.
Well, no, but what it is you basically found a labelless copy of Super Mario 64 for $2 in a Goodwill bin, and you get to go play it, kind of deal. Almost. Right?
Sure.
That's kind of like, common ground maybe, but there's so you've got that, you've still got that aspect of the thing where if you're sitting there and you're wondering, no, the market's not really falling off any much. I mean, it's kind of peaked. A lot of things have peaked. They've not continued to inflate in prices unless it's something super rare and desirable, but they've not really dipped anything that's good. Now, to expand a little bit more on that market, we can talk about some of the other things that have shown up in the market, which you and I have discussed before, and was pretty much one of the more popular Cathode Ray podcasts would have been us talking about, some of those new Chinese companies that have offered what were supposedly new CRTs. I have some things here from other places where they've advertised new CRTs and friends have been suckered into buying them and experiencing not quite what they thought they were getting. So since CRTs are hot, you are finding even more of them available, even in advertised as new, right? So one of the more recent ones was our friend Mike Chi. He had thought he was all up and down and in heaven. He thought he found this listing, and it was like a nice website, Retrospect or something. And they're advertising new old stock Zenith 13-inch televisions. And our boy Mike was so sure he was going to get a good thing, he bought two of them.
Okay.
And they were just old TVs in boxes.
Right. Okay.
Used, dirty. And he paid, not cheap for them. We've discussed the Chinese televisions a couple times and what happens there.
Sure. So this is a tough thing. So people... and I get this regionality about CRTs means that while in my local region I can get a CRT if I need, it's not too much of a hassle, but I appreciate that you could just so easily be anywhere, even in the United States, and be in some center or regional center even where you just can't get them. They're unobtainium for you. And so you see these ads on AliExpress or whatever it might be, Temu, I don't know if they're there as well, about getting the stock from China. And probably a lot of you have already seen the podcast that we did. I was talking to Retrocastle Ivory about what are the CRTs like, and he did a bit of digging and we eventually worked out that they're just taking old tubes, putting compatible electronics on there. And then this was the story of Barry in Australia, who imported 3 of them. Again, because the market is so hot in Australia, Barry gave it a go. The units arrived broken. I think he said also there was like even one of them had a broken neck board. He did eventually repair them and just found they're really average. They're super, super average, very low quality, nothing that, really just your average $5 CRT is what he thought found them out to be.
Yeah, I think that, and I think this is kind of playing against us a little bit, being in this nerd retro gaming sphere where we see and anything that advertisement like a new CRT, and then even people who may have access to like a decent CRT are going to be tempted to think, oh, maybe the grass is greener with this advertised new CRT, when it's really not. It's not like anything special, kind of. It's like, guess what? No, that's not really, And
you know better, I think, almost than anybody, Steve, how hard it is to ship a CRT.
Yeah.
And these blokes, they're not doing a very good job shipping them from China.
Yeah, and the only reason that I'm sure Mike Cheese made is because it was the new, they knew what they were doing when they were making the TV and making the boxes for them that went with them. So if you get the original box, then it's got the original packing, it's okay. But once you start recreating all this stuff, like in Barry's situation, it's like they'll just bang around in their new shell, and it's very easy to break a CRT. I actually saw I had this terrible short get sent to me on YouTube not too long ago, and it was from JoJo's Resell. I don't know what it was. Who knows what the real name of the channel was. I shipped a CRT. This is how I perfectly packed it. Yeah. And it was such a joke. It was one layer of bubble wrap in a Walmart box that's single wall, that's smushed up against the wall, and the guy's showing you. And then he's like, this was good because I had to ship it from the East Coast to California, and it made it. And I was like, you are so full of crap. Yeah, like, dude, you just shot the video. You thought you did fine. I'm sure that your stupid thing got blown up, and if it didn't, it was a luck. And you shouldn't be telling people to pack their CRTs like that because it's going to break 9 times.
And that's the equivalent of going, hey, I went to Vegas and I went to the craps table and I threw some dice and they came up winning. Hey, that's how you win. Basically a gamble.
Exactly. I went and played Russian roulette one time and I won. It's the easiest game in the world. Why are you afraid to play, you wuss? Right? It's like, come on. Like, exactly. There's not... I was like, this is just pointless. Some people think that.
Right. So, and I think it is important to point out here that even if we were saying, okay, Barry had the examples, the few examples that we have of people that have ordered these CRTs for China, they really are not very good. And by that, I don't mean to be an elitist prick gatekeeping. Oh, it's not a PVM. I don't mean that. I love consumer TVs. I love the look. Steve will absolutely agree with me. There's a time and place for a BVM, a PVM. There's also a time and place for a dirty $5 CRT to just whip out the Nintendo or the Atari 2600 and have a go on. There's a place for all of those. The difficulty is that they're bad shells. The electronics are often dirty. They got weird power connections, and they might be really out of whack, like really, really not calibrated correctly.
And I'm also kind of, I know that, and maybe I'm overplaying this, but there could be real safety concerns in these things ultimately down the road. And we don't know anything like that, but here's the truth. There are too many, and I say this with a dog that's like I got as a puppy, but it's like there's too many good in the United States. There's still most of the time in the United States, there's still too many good CRTs for you guys to be considering dropping $400 or $500 on importing a supposedly new anything.
No,
yeah,
sorry,
it's like no, that's elitist. Saying that you can't handle having the same level CRT, so you got to import something that's, you know,
they're really going to be bottom of the barrel, and
they're
like
not as good as any. If you can find any of the major good brands, it's going to be better than these boxed up things.
Sure, and to think about, do a little thought challenge for yourself. Oh, I'm going to buy some CRT for China, and it's going to be good, high quality. From what I've understood, talking to Ivory Retro Castle, who you might know from making those amazing Mr. cases, the amazing Mr. add-on boards, he's Chinese, doing his thing in China. Chinese people are into CRTs too. There is a huge, of course, everything is huge in China, a huge retro gaming and old CRT enthusiast community in China. These guys are switched on and they're into it as well. Meaning there's not some random bargain of some Chinese guy who's like, oh, you know, they have their own community, their own thing. It's not just sort of this like, oh, we don't know what to do with it, so we shipped it to the West. Like, the Chinese would, if it was such a good deal, they wouldn't have to ship it to the West. There's actually plenty of people in China who will pay a fairly, like a couple hundred, like a fairly reasonable price for these boxed items as well.
And these CRTs that we're even talking about are not even really, they were never really designed to come over here in America again anyway. These are meant to go to the developing worlds for the most part, that are behind everybody a little bit on TVs. They still need old TVs, and there's still a market for companies to make a kind of refurbished style television and send into these sets. That's why we noticed on those crazy TVs that there was a battery plug on them that you could hot wire a 12-volt car battery to power these CRTs, supposedly.
That's so funny, right?
It's because you're not getting, or I don't know. I mean, maybe you just put the hot on cold, or I don't know how you do that.
I don't know how it works. So any CRT that you can find locally, and I understand that maybe that is still difficult in your area. Maybe you don't have a car. Maybe it's hard to. I got those great stories from my buddy in Tokyo, and he's taken a PVM like across Tokyo. He's got to walk 20 minutes, then take the subway for an hour and a half, then walk another 20 minutes. I appreciate it can be hard for you. Anything that you can find locally will be better than something that you have to post.
Yeah, unless you're, you know, there's right ways to do posts, and we've talked about that too to death. But if, it's not
like, unless you've got the money, unless you're like, look, I've done well for myself in life.
If you do,
I'm going to get something nice.
Then you shouldn't be wasting your time.
Then don't be buying some shit from China.
Yeah,
no.
you buy something else.
Buy a quality RetroTech PVM as refurbished by Steve Nutter.
Or just go buy. No, here's what you do: you go buy yourself whatever PVM you want off eBay, and then bring it to me to fix up. Okay, that's it. That's I wouldn't. I know it's there's always this dream of like, oh, and it's something that we always hear. Oh, please, somebody remake CRTs. Somebody make new CRTs. That's not really happening, everybody. Okay. We've talked about why and everything, but that's not really happening. So the next thing is, the new old stock. The supposed new stock.
Rebuilt or something. Yeah, it just doesn't work like that with CRTs. It's such a complex technology.
Now there's some ideas maybe of things which I don't know what's really happened with. Like, you know, again, like open source CRT stuff. We don't know. That's been years since we've heard probably much on that. You know, if you're like getting a hunch to do something, go find some amazing CRT and come up with a design for your own shell for it.
And
even wood, metal, I don't know.
I am inspired right now to draw from the amazing backdrop that Steve has here as I come up here and I take a device which is being sold by Mr. Add-ons Pork Chop Express, which this small box which I have in my hand, which is approximately the size, ironically, of the $5 HDMI converter. Very, very small device. Looks just like it. This device that is my hand will convert composite to RF. So if you find a TV that only has aerial input, only has RF input, you can get this device. It's only like $30 or something. It's pretty cheap.
Maybe that's who we should ask about the other scaler, since he came up with the
Maybe Paul
downscaler
can do it. Yeah.
480
Maybe Paul can do it. So
RCA down
you don't even need to find a composite TV. Literally any CRT that you find can now be used from retro games with this one device. And if you've got a composite input, awesome. Just go straight for that. If you got component or SCART, awesome. Use that. So I think this is a very cool idea, and I'm very glad that this RF converter exists.
All right.
Going a while. Hey, Cole, how you doing, little doggy down there?
So what about this one?
What do we got? What's up next?
Let's I gotta take a leak.
Should we have a little break? Let's have a little break. Let's have a break. We'll cut this one for you later.
All right, let's stop it, baby.
Break time.
All right.
All right, we are back into the second half of the Cathode Ray podcast. Now, we have Steve had a really good topic for us to talk about. But before we do that, I want to reflect on an experience I had, in audio-visual that I had today, thanks to my friend Steve. All right. Upon my insistence, we go to Goodwill. I'm like, I got to do this, right? I've been to a couple in America already, in Atlanta, but this one here in Harrisburg. Here in Harrisonburg is pretty ghetto. It's pretty ghetto. So I enjoyed going there, and we had a good time, and we found a big stack of VHS tapes in really good condition. And Steve eventually decided he was going to be the market manipulator that he is. He bought up all the videotapes, these VHS in really good condition. And one of them was Cool Hand Luke. And before we were going to record this episode, Steve put Cool Hand Luke on, and he's got a pretty regular VHS player. It's nothing special. Just a good one, right?
Is not. No, there's nothing like. So this was one. The only reason I have this one in there is because I know it works all the time, because it's one that like I bought at Walmart when they were selling them at the end of it, and it was a cheap one, but it's not as old as the others, and still works great.
Right. And so you connected it. The main TV that Steve's got down here is an original 1080p plasma. And spoiler alert, it looked great. We had a really nice time. I think the way that the VHS went into the plasma, I think the plasma deals with the standard definition very well. Tell us about that plasma team, Steve.
Well, this is really weird, because you wouldn't think it would look that good, because the movies are actually longer. Like, that's not a short movie.
Sure.
Like, they are extending out the tape, so the tape would already, you'd think, have less quality. Cole, I have no idea what you're doing. I did not put any ham on my arm or anything. He's licking it like it's covered in butter. Anyway, there's not any reason it should ever look even as good as it did. I mean, the fact that honestly, those Goodwills are so bad lately. I wouldn't have even bought anything if the video cassettes weren't in such good condition.
True, and I was peer pressuring him into it as well.
But I was like, these are really in crazy.
They were very good,
like brand new looking condition when you pulled them out of the sleeves. So.
This plasma,
plasma though, it's not anything new. This is a 2007 plasma, and it's by a company that's usually good at tools, Hitachi.
The Japanese do everything in one company.
They make good power tools. At least that's all I ever knew about them before I bought this. When I bought it, and I bought this TV new in 2007, and. It's just got great inputs, great still processing for analog video a lot of times. And it's still, for 480i video, it looks good. I mean, really good. It's not the same look, I don't think, as the CRT, but
No, and I don't
It's
think we're
still a
saying
good
that.
look.
Like it looked. Oh, Jesus! Dropped my phone, my book. It. Like we can sometimes be a little bit autistic about these things, right? And see problems and see issues. I watching it, I didn't get annoyed. That's
Yeah.
a good start. I didn't get annoyed by it. And then I went like, this is actually okay. I'm not seeing pixels or seeing something else or weird motion blur or some crap like that. It just looked quite authentic to watch on the plasma.
yeah, and I was a little concerned when we were watching because this video we put on must have had about, I mean, it had like 30 previews, and the previews were not in that great of look as the movie.
They weren't very good.
No, they weren't as good a quality as the movie. And I specifically noticed that because they had a Cool Hand Luke trailer right before the movie started. So the Cool Hand Luke trailer was so poorly reproduced, I was afraid the rest of the movie was going to be that. Thankfully, the movie started up and we actually forgot. We were kind of watching it on... and there's no scaler on that TV, like in between the VCR. That VCR is going straight composite video.
It's going raw. It's going raw in the back of that
into
plasma.
yeah, because the plasma still. This plasma was the first. Is 2007 Hitachi 50-inch. It was the first to do 1080 or one of the first to do 1080 and. So obviously back then it would still have had just about input because there was still half the stuff was still in analog at that point in America. So,
I think in a
it
weird
still
way,
has a bunch of probably all that hardware was still like they were concentrating on making it good.
right. In a weird meta way, I think I enjoy it more because I appreciate how hard it is to do. I'm just jamming VHS directly in a flat panel. By our experience with other types of televisions, that usually doesn't go very well.
Yeah.
But turns out with plasma that it just works without needing Mike Cheese brilliance to make it look halfway decent. Plasma to me, correct me if I'm wrong, because we were watching, when we were filming early today, you had the Wii on and you put Smash Brothers on the Wii. And so I got to watch it for a while. It looks really good. It's very compelling. The colors seem a little bit different. It's not a bright LCD. Let's put it that way. I still like it. Don't get me wrong. It's not it. But it's just different a little bit.
Well, I remember when I bought the TV. From the store. That was a lot of the stuff was early LCD TVs with
garbage.
it, and I just remember that stuff looked extremely. Like you get a lot of blocky looks on it. You would see what would look like a lot of geometrical things in just watching like regular stuff in the stores. And I noticed that with the plasma, I didn't see that kind of weird, almost like edges on things when I originally bought it. And I just thought it looked cleaner of an image. And that's why I bought it really. And
So you're doing a little comparison back then in 2007.
Well, back then, because it was a TV store that they still had where they just sold TVs.
You're right. So you got to compare them in person.
Yeah, and they had a sales guy that would actually tell you about the TVs because that's all he did all day.
You didn't have Bob on YouTube to tell you instead. Now you got to have a real bloke.
He wasn't like in a Best Buy and told to go move between departments and didn't know anything about TVs or something. It's just a guy who's sitting there making money selling TVs.
Gotcha. So he knows his shit.
Right. And so and this would have been, golly, I remember doing like one of those dumb, which it was fine. I paid it off, but I did like they were like, you don't have to pay, or you could spread it out in 12 payments, 0 down interest and 0 interest. And it was all these, like, pay it before the date and you're okay. So I ended up doing that. But that TV back then was expensive. I mean, I want to say it was like $3,000 or something.
Why was younger Steve so baller with $3,000 on a TV?
Like I said, it was credit, so I was being dumb. I don't know. I was... I had gotten out of video games in... I want to say probably, I mean, not completely, but, like the last year to year and a half or two, maybe total, while I was in college, I had to finally do the upperclassmen stuff and try to graduate.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what I had done is I had actually transferred to try to get a different major that I had found, and the school that I transferred to was in a different state, and when I did that, I lost like an entire year's worth of my credits turned into an elective credit. So I had to get an entire new year's worth. So I had to go for 5 years. So most people say, "Oh yeah, I went for 5." I mean, people go for 5 years of school a lot. Well, I actually got 5 years worth of hours, like full time. I had 30 more hours than you need to graduate college. But I just had so many wasted hours because I switched majors, and a lot of them became extra electives that were useless.
Sure.
So that's like...
Yeah, fair enough, but at least you course corrected. You understood this wasn't your way, and
right,
you worked
so
your way out of it.
I always made those mistakes like that.
Sure. Okay, it happens. So that's why you thought this $3,000 TV back then was a good idea.
Well, no, that was just a long way of getting like...
Hey, what? I'm in a terrible situation in my career. I should buy a $3,000 TV.
That was a terrible thing to do. Yeah, like I'm in a terrible spot.
But here I am, and I support your decision today because it's a great TV.
I think you finally found out what it's like to be American. Whenever you get into a bad situation, you go spend a bunch of money you don't have on something you don't need to make yourself feel better for 5 minutes. No, like up until that point, I didn't really buy anything like that. It wasn't until after I switched to schools and I graduated to get into this field of work that was actually giving people jobs, and that's what I did, and I got a job. So I had a pretty good job, at least that was paying decent enough, where I went and found I ran into a colleague who was the same age who lived in a different city. And we were at a work meetup, and he was like, "Oh, come check out my Xbox 360." And it was like brand new at the time. And it was Gears of War, right? The first one on a big flat HD TV. And I'd never seen a game kind of like that, right? Back then. And after this was, like I said, I had to take that couple years off. The last thing I had before that would have been the regular Xbox and GameCube. Sure. And I remember playing that a lot. And then, like I said, I got those last couple years, and I kind of just had to finally stop doing too much and try to get the career or graduate. So I went out to Oregon, and I got the first big boy job I had. And I remember getting the Xbox 360 and hooking it up to a I didn't have a flat screen then. I still had a CRT, of course, because it was 07. And so I hooked it up to but then all I kept thinking about was that guy's flat screen, right? That's all I kept thinking about. So then I had to finally go to the flat screen store and finance a flat screen television because I couldn't buy that. I had to finance that one.
Sure. It's not a week goes by when I'm working on some retro stuff. Do I think about that early model LCD PVM that you have sitting over there, and you've tested, Bob and we tested a while back, and like how dog shit it is, but how it was apparently the replacement for a beautiful BVM. And there was such a weird time where LCDs, we just jerked off for flat screens so badly did we want, and sick of heavy TVs that we're willing to accept that absolute dog's breakfast. And okay, now it gets better, and these days it's pretty good. But whew, that was a tough technology change.
Terrible. And that's what I like. I talked to a bunch of other friends too. They were getting them flat screens. They were like, "Oh yeah, I bought a flat screen. Blah, I bought this one." And again, I went to that store and I didn't know what I was gonna get, but I I saw them all together, and I distinctly remember just looking at them, and that Hitachi stood out a lot from all the other ones that were available at that time.
Yeah, you know what else has stood out? It's price tag. But yes, go ahead.
But yeah, well, they were all like quite expensive.
Oh, really?
Back
Okay,
then.
all right.
I mean, I want to say that the other ones I probably would have been looking at would have been over $1,500.
Yeah,
so
okay.
it wasn't.
Fair enough.
It was one of the more expensive ones, of course. But then you were getting a lot of like garbage that was going up to 720 probably P. And I guarantee I wouldn't still have it to this day if I'd bought one of those other LCDs, because now that thing's still even almost, 17 years later.
It looks awesome.
It still holds together. Now it does do, plasmas are weird. There is, first off, it's super heavy. Okay, don't let it flatness fool you. Those are super heavy. And it does get an interesting style of, I call it temporary screen burn now. So it will...
Image retention for a while.
Yeah, pretty much. And you'll think, I've even had like bright spots show up on it where it looks like a beam of sunlight is beaming down onto the screen. And it looks like a big, and then you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like a big white hot spot, and you're like, the TV's done. And then it'll stay there for an hour, you'll turn the TV off, turn back on, and it'll go away. And it looks normal. Okay. So I don't know. That's something that comes along with age as it's been getting older. So I'm sure that's the panel kind of like
staging,
the plasma wearing. I'm not sure, but what
it's
is interesting?
I feel sad that I a couple of weeks ago I passed on a plasma, a pretty big one, maybe 27-inch or bigger or 30 or something. But I looked at it and went, oh, it hasn't got HDMI. It's only got standard definition inputs. Oh, I don't want to use that with a flat panel. I won't get it. And now I've understood, like, holy crap, it could have actually been amazing. But you are right. It was heavy as sin. And I would have had to carry that shit on my own.
And that, that was another part of why I bought that one, was because it had the HDMI and 1080p. And that's really the only reason, too, that it's remained relevant.
Right. It's very future-proof. Good thinking,
It
Steve.
was, that was... I remember the first place I saw a flat screen ever.
Wow.
And it was an Abercrombie and Fitch clothing shop. Do you know what those are?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have clothing shops in Australia.
Do you have Abercrombie and Fitch?
True. Okay, I don't know, but maybe. But I got the brand anyway.
Yeah.
No problems.
Gosh, that stuff was terrible. Yeah. Anyway,
Okay, so our next topic to move along is, what are we looking forward to in 2024? RetroTech, whatever the fuck, what's coming this year?
Yeah,
Steve,
that's
open
what
us
I was
up.
going to say. What?
That's why I'm saying it now, because you suggested it.
Yeah, right. For 2024, what retro items are you excited for? Okay. So, I think maybe we could start with two products from the legendary Voltar. So first off, it would be probably some of that bath water, some of that Voltar bath water.
Oh my God, that's disgusting. I'm sorry if you're listening to this. I'm not very good at ASMR.
There would always be some of that that's going to be looking forward to. And the real treat would be the SNES
2-chip.
Yeah, 2-chip kit for our fixing the blurry picture, or, just image quality cleanup probably in there. And I'm sure it's not going to, I don't really know, actually. I can't imagine it being something that, you never really know, but I can't imagine it being like a super difficult mod. I don't think most of the ones
No, it's not. Those Voltar's ones, I've done the N64 one, and it's even an idiot like me could do it. So it's certainly achievable to those without, you just need a soldering iron and a bit of practice, and I think you can do it. And I think Voltar and Bob, and there was another video at the time, it's just escaping me now.
My Life in Gaming?
Maybe it was. Yes, it was My Life in Gaming.
Yeah,
the three of them
so.
did such a good job of explaining the product that why do we need this? That we don't need to argue like, what is this? Doesn't really, it's just fine. And like Bob was like, yes, but let me show you exactly what it does. And I think the three of them work together to really explain it well.
Well, I mean, I've been using both the one chip and the Super Famicom, and yeah, it would make a big difference. The Super Famicom is so
you can
blurry.
see it. Yeah, you can see it.
You could definitely, especially on a PVM.
Yes, I agree.
And you almost get it almost gives you a jail bar look too, like the Sega Genesis has in composite video. And that would be through, all the way scaled up to if you're using HD Retrovision cables. So I'm excited to see that new mod come out so I can actually do something with the, modify that and have it look nice. And you're right, there were some great videos, and it did better because it was explaining more again about the difference in the video quality, why it's important. Voltar's been getting a lot of love from not just us two on this project. They've been a couple articles out there I've seen about.
Sure, it's got a bit of coverage. It's good. It really opens up the possibilities that if you want to get the best quality Super Nintendo, that's now just like very easy to get. Like, it's very easy to get. You don't have to be searching around for the expensive
Super Famicoms.
You don't have to search for this expensive one chip. I was very fortunate to be able to find a one chip in the wild, but I really went through a lot of Japanese secondhand stores trying to find one. It took me, I don't know, like 20, 25 more of these Japanese stores each time of like really plowing through bins and bins. They've got so many available. It's amazing. And you've got to like inspect it in a certain way. No, I was looking for a serial number range. I found a website
it's a serial number range, but that's not even a guarantee.
Absolutely. So that is the risk, right? So I'm looking for these serial numbers, going through all these, and then eventually finding one and then opening up. So they're not that easy at all to find, not even in sacred Japan where all the good retro is, right?
Yeah, I mean, I never, I don't think I ever even had the real, maybe I did, I can't remember. If I did, I sold it, and I've had a number of the junior consoles that have been fitted with his kits on that, which is a one chip that's just been stripped of the RGB output and the S-video output. So it's you can tell a big difference between those two consoles if you set them right next to each other on monitors. You would see. It always does make it look. It always, without it, would look a little bit blurry. And that has motion blur added on a CRT and things. It makes it look like. So I'm excited to see that.
Okay. I agree. Good one. All right, I'm looking forward to super broadly FPGA gaming that's not on the D10 Nano anymore. So in both directions, that we use the D10 Nano, the core of the Mister, for so much stuff, and it's awesome. And this is not a dig at it. Rather, I'm talking about evolutions, next steps that we take in possible directions. Because again, I'm just speaking out. I'm speaking from the cheap seats. What the fuck do I know about these amazing creators who do amazing work that I could never comprehend creating? It's more just like my thoughts on maybe directions that we can go. The D10 Nano seems to be going well for us, but it's getting expensive. It's becoming a bit of a bottleneck. And efforts like Mistex, which are like trying to take cheaper FPGAs and use them for a Mister-like platform or a compatible platform, but on a cheaper FPGA. But maybe you only get like less consoles. Like that would be kind of cool to be like, hey, I mean, I think they already exist as well. Like here's just NES or here's just Super Nintendo, and it's like $20 or something. So that's cool. And then also on the upper end, something like Mars. This looks amazing. I'm not sure how many hundreds it's going to be right on. Looks like an amazing product, but like the really upper end of the scale. That's also a cool thing too, if people are into that.
Yeah, it will be, at least it will be a good time to have a little bit of variety in that field. No matter what, you probably anticipate that, Mars will be coming out this year for sure. Where then you'll have two higher quality, hardware emulating hardware. Whatever.
Right. Maybe it is kind of cool.
Like, that, again, it's high quality stuff, and you're going to have more than one thing there, and that's generally a good thing. So I'm excited to see that, like we don't have to always... you just, after a while, you're stuck on one. People in tech want to have new things, so it's good to see new platforms being
right. Could there ever be a day
revolved.
where I'm talking very briefly here, I understand this is not how it works, but is there ever a day where the CPU of the FPU, you get my point, could be unplugged, or the FPGA, could be swapped out? I'm not saying that literally, but these parts could be upgradable, I guess, could we ever get to that? I really want it to, because there's an interesting little trend now that's appearing, which is retro projects that want to build on the D10 Nano and use it. And that it makes a lot of sense. So you want to make a new project, you don't have to make it from scratch. You use the D10 Nano, you make an add-on board for the D10 Nano. And I think, what have we got? The OSSE 1.5. And then there was that the same downscaler that Lou from Lou's Retro Source was talking about? But y'all get my point anyway. And on one hand, I love it, and I think it's an awesome direction to take your project, because we've all got a D10 Nano, and it makes it much, much cheaper. And that's cool that the barrier of entry is much lower to all of us who probably have a Mister anyway. So that's awesome. But what I think some people are coming across, and I'm coming across, is like, oh, but my D10 Nano is already being used, so it becomes difficult to use that downscaler all the time, because I got to keep swapping out my D10 Nano with it. So then I'm like, well, I have to go buy a new D10 Nano. It's like, that's $220 or whatever. Thank you very much. So, I don't mean criticism, just more like thoughts about where these projects could go. I love it, but I can also see how it gets difficult as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Mars does too. I mean, with me, it would be nice just to see what that unlocks, like what's able to be
at the upper end.
Yeah, what's able to be added that we haven't seen before on there, and kind of what happens with that development over the time. Again, what is unlocked, what can be done. And it's way too early really to know that. It wouldn't really happen until after probably it was released that you would find out more and more and more about what it was actually capable of, and people would start developing more on it. But yeah, that's going to be an awesome thing. I think that 2024 will have, surprisingly, a couple more products, and
there's amazing stuff. So many people working on different things.
We're practically... It was, I guess, technically released in December, still in the first year of it. The biggest product, I'm sure, if you wanted to kind of say all of them, is going to be the RetroTink 4K, which is, people are still getting their initial order shipments. I see them now, even today. So it's February 2024, so they're coming in. I saw where Mike Cheese already doing new firmware. What a surprise, right?
Continues to work on it. Round 2's coming. And I think the final conclusion the other day from Mike was that he's still not going to do pre-order. It's still going to be...
at least not right now.
First come, first serve. And you can totally get it. I think that people still are left frustrated. There are people that want the RetroTink 4K and they can't get it, because there are a certain number of products. I don't think there's one way that's really going to satisfy everyone. If there's a pre-order, someone, that's tough for him. If he doesn't like he does, people are like, I wish there was a waiting list.
I don't really feel bad for anybody who didn't get one, because you had opportunity. We all had a chance. It was at a price point where it didn't sell out the first minute. It sold out the first day, I think, right, or something, but it didn't, it might have been a couple hours that you had, but we all had kind of plenty of notice. If you wanted one, then you could have tried, like on the first one. And then I think that, I don't know that too many people that are like actually pissed, but I don't really, because I feel like they'll get a chance to get one too. It's not, you better just get one when the next order round comes
just
out.
The next round's coming out.
But because it's not going to be something, because then if you open it up to pre-orders, you're going to make somebody else mad. I ordered pre-order and I didn't get it, and I just saw somebody open theirs on Twitter.
Exactly, yeah. Mike doesn't need that shit.
Where's mine? And I want my money back. That's what happens. I want my money back, Mike.
I think it opens you to people don't get supply and demand and don't get how they sort of just, I guess, I didn't get a toy. I've learned about this from observing the Lego forums and the way that, so there's the new battle pack, which has got 4 minifigs and some small play sets and goes for $30. And it got released on January 1 and it's a big thing. But it's a regular product, right? But these have been regularly out of stock in the United States. And the complaining is that it's people coming in buying up a whole bunch. So the idea that the pseudo investor comes in and buys them all and the little kid doesn't get his Lego. And whenever anyone would post pictures of themselves with like 2 boxes or 3 boxes, someone in the Lego Reddit complains, says, well, they're scalping them, taking all the boxes so the kids can't get them. And but my favorite, the point where I'm going with this is not just it's the same. First of all,
with the RetroTech?
It does, because it's the same thing. People, they'll I
didn't see anybody flex with multiple RetroTechs yet.
No, but then but then what I like is some Lego guy. There's one guy who's in Hong Kong, right? And he's buying up a lot of these boxes. Like a lot of them. And they're like, but it's guys like him, meaning that I can't get it. It's like, but you don't understand that Lego like send a certain amount to the United States and a certain amount to Hong Kong and a certain amount to Europe. So if he's buying 1,000 boxes in Hong Kong, it doesn't take away from your stock in America. This guy in Hong Kong is not at fault for the reason you can't get him at Walmart this week. My point is that people do not understand supply and demand. And they just say, I didn't get a toy, so where's my toy?
I don't. I think that the people that are probably complaining about this are people that were never going to buy it anyway.
I think so.
I don't think it's a fact that they wanted it and tried to order it and actually couldn't get it.
Yeah.
I just think they weren't going to get it. They probably weren't going to buy it, I think, probably on the first run to begin with, and they were hoping that it wouldn't sell out. And then they saw it sell out, and then they complained. Internet style.
So it's good. Mike still made the right choice. That's the best choice for him.
I mean, whatever. I think there's like good. I could also, if Mike was a bigger business and wanted, and there's obviously opportunities to take advantage of a hot Linus video, right? If you had pre-orders open the day after all of that huge Linus video shows up.
But he doesn't.
I know, that's what I'm saying. If you do, what does that mean? Is that all of a sudden if you left it open, were there 3 order, would 5,000 of them sell?
Right.
Like right then? Who knows? That's what I mean. It's like Mike Chi will be able to sell as many of them as he wants to, as many of them as he makes probably. And, it's not like a wrong or right answer. It's whatever's right for him kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that if he was a bigger company and there were more people's jobs involved in all this, like that kind of thing, then that would have probably been more the approach of you probably would have more people working. You try to get these things out if you had that many orders more fast, and your company would grow like the normal thing that happens with bigger companies. But it's obviously not that kind of a thing for him, and it's always been his passion side project with his company that to make these. We're just like fortunate that somebody's that good at making stuff with their side stuff. It is
crazy. Not easy to run a retro company, and to do it consistently, and that most people like you, and that there's no real genuine complaints against you. Very, very difficult thing to do. So I would say, hey, Mike, you got a winning formula, baby. Stick to that. Do it in your own time.
Well, right. And it doesn't matter. You can do it right. People won't like you. Doesn't matter. So speaking of that, could segue over to another exciting thing for 2024, which on a related, people won't like. What's undoubtedly to be the best marketing campaign of 2024, which will be whatever Pixel FX decides to market this year.
Oh my god! That fucking video.
And that's where I'll just leave it at that. We'll see what the heck.
Guys have got to stop being so reactionary. They're so just make a good product, guys. You're really clever dudes. We really want to like you. Stop freaking the fuck out and
it's fine.
Make
it. Funny.
Or work it out. I'm not trying to make it, but come on.
There'll be a funny marketing campaign that will make no sense, and then we'll be scratching our heads about it for a while.
And in fairness to them, I like where they're going. I think it's proven formula right now that we're going towards simple HDMI mods and complicated scaler. And be that scaler be the RetroTech 4K, or be that being, what is it, the Morph? Is that what it's called? Either one, doesn't matter, whatever. You're putting all the brains into the external scaler, and like the dude Conrad in Sweden that I spoke to, he's basically made the N64 HDMI mod from a Pi Pico, nothing. That's so accessible potentially. If that's what you want to do and you want to go cheap, so possible now.
Yeah, and you know what I'd do? I'd modify all those things to get HDMI out of them, and then I'd stick them in my $5 scaler to get them back in the composite. And then I'd complain about how I was no good at Mega Man. My double down scale.
It's that variable lag, baby. It'll get you. My brain can't adjust.
So I think, I don't. What other? It's hard to think where is it? What's the next HDMI mod? I mean, everybody okay, we do have to admit that the Gem that was out last year, and that fits multiple consoles, I guess, right? And then just depending on what cabling and you get for it, and so there is a product that's new. It's just, again, I don't know. I know we were kind of ribbing. I hope that there is something that comes out so that we know more. Maybe it will be another mod. Sure. It's just, I'm always surprised. I thought the Morph would have kind of already been seen, maybe, because again, I had heard of that before I heard about kind of the mods, and then the mods come out. So
it would be great to have it. It would be great to have that in the market. It would be cool.
All this stuff.
That it's going to be half the price point. Awesome.
Helpful.
Half the price of the RetroTech 4K absolutely has a place in the market. And those, I admit,
the mods too. It's it's all got to be needed.
I'm a bit unsure about that subscription model thing or that upgrade model thing. I get it, and I both get it and both I don't know. But I both understand we've got to find innovative ways for these creators to get paid and to protect their interests. So, it's hard, right?
Yeah,
so all of a sudden you get cloned. Right. All of a sudden,
well, if you're on the internet, there's you're going to find vastly there's some people that say the internet, which is true. A lot of the things that the internet is built off of were given away free by people.
Well, okay,
that came up with that stuff, and intended for it to be the playground of everything being free. And now it's it's become so far from. And I don't.
Well, someone's got to make a business, right?
Exactly.
You make a product,
but there's everything now is subscription, everything, right?
Okay, sure, all right.
So
it's not about, we don't want them to pay it. It's how do we feel about that particular maneuver, right?
Well,
is that a good maneuver or not?
And it's not. I don't know. It's just it is. It's a maneuver. But
it's a maneuver.
It's just
Sure. So, but I hope those products come along.
Yeah.
That'll be great to have some extra price point options.
I think there's just you start getting in these things, and I don't know what's going on a lot of times because I feel like these people will think they could discover things about these products and get like they think they got a gotcha moment, and then what they're talking about is so over my head I have no idea whether they're right or wrong. Like, it's too much. I don't know. It's like, oh, well, the direct video mode's not working out of these mods unless you do this. And I'm like, I don't know what you're, almost, it's like I'm lost here in the sauce sometimes.
I mean, in fairness to Steve, though, I'm going to show him how to use FTP tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to learn FTP.
What's that?
That's how we're going to get it's... We're going to get the Mr. I off the Mr. via the network without having to take the card out.
So we're going to do some
heavy
karaoke. We're going to do some Easy-E karaoke. Some
FTP.
There you go.
So we can work that out. Some bits.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's
tough.
Well,
we got Cole
sleeping,
snoring,
and
he's sleeping. He's getting good.
This has been a relaxing couple hours here, Lewis.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think that that concludes our topic list.
It does. I appreciate very much that you guys have sat around and listened to us just talk and get along and go over these things. But it means a lot to have been able to come to America and experience all this, spend time with Steve. So thank you very much, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. Thank you guys for your viewing attention today.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, make sure that you guys are all out there good to each other. Have a good conversation. It's great to have friends and enjoy the company of them. So don't take things like, if you're near somebody, don't take it for granted. Go say hello to them, even if it's
build relationships.
By, right?
I like it.
Exactly.
Most of the problems that we find, I reckon, when I look around people in the retro community, by building relationships.
Well, yeah,
that's the message I'm leaving you with today.
There you go. It works at everybody. Everybody can do that. All right, guys.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye bye.